everybody. Welcome to this week's What the Heck. We have. Actually, I didn't even ask your name. Is it Icing? Easing?
Ising,
Icing?
Alan Ising is my name. Pretty happy to be
Ising.
here.
Yes.
Yeah,
Awesome. Alan. All right. Cool. Welcome, Alan. We're
thanks.
going to do real quick intros. And let me figure out where I put stuff. You're on the screen. Great. Names, noise cancellation. All right. Who are you, and what do you do with the boxes that your modules come in?
Right.
Hey,
Well,
ladies are going first here.
I'm a human being, and I try to do the M word music with my boxes. And no, it's been a thing that I wanted to do for a while, for my own personal benefit, really. I wanted to just have something that I could toy around with, and it would give me some sort of satisfaction with that. It's really that, really.
That's great. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a very good reason. And what do you do with the boxes that your modules come in? That's a real important question.
yeah. So most of the stuff I've been doing has been really space-like. I think space has been sort of a theme with sort of the alien signal name I'm using,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
trying to do. I mean, the thing is, you can do pretty much anything with it, and I haven't really figured out what I like to do most. But it often ends quite spacey. Although sometimes I just make some techno instead when I'm bored.
That is absolutely a perfect fallback. Like,
Hmm.
techno, four to the floor, let's go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Hack 7, I put on this weekly hangout. I call it. I'm not sure. I call it a talk show. It's more like a hangout.
Hmm.
But I also try to make the M word sometimes. And usually, lately, I've been falling back to I don't know, techno, or like, I don't know, happy hardcore or whatever. Bad at genres, but like a lot lately. I don't know if it's just there's a lot of sun or what, but I've been feeling it lately, so that's what I've been doing.
It's super
Um,
liberating to do it. That's what
I
I feel
mean,
sometimes, at least.
the problem, like, I find myself in situations all the time where I'm like, all right, let's make some like really heavy, like, I don't know, bagpipe music or something, right? And I'll
Mm.
make like a really sort of mellow, like, heavy song would be good on an industrial track, and then I just can't help but put Four to the Floor on and turn
Yeah,
it into a techno track, because once you
yeah,
start side chaining, it just, you can't stop.
right.
Um, yeah, yeah. So hey,
Yeah,
everybody, we got a lot of stuff to talk about.
we do.
Yeah, let's tell me about your. Let's start by telling you telling us about your setup.
Right.
Like, what modules do
So,
you have? Which ones are you using the
yeah,
most? Which ones are you ignoring?
right. Well, let me just scroll down to sort of the start of this, because I just scrolled through my messages and found out that I bought the case in March, so I haven't done this for very long, and it sort of came from I got really tired of this whole DAW thing, because that was my entry into all of this, and bought a MIDI thing and couldn't really
Uh,
figure out what to do with that. And then I found this Moog app that had like the old school Moog synthesizer with all the patches you can do with that. And I
Oh, the
thought this
system,
system
is it
something,
15
yeah,
or
can't remember.
something?
Yeah, that's the thing, yeah.
Yeah, that one's a great app. I didn't know how to use it when I first got it.
No, nor did I, but I sort of realized here's really something that's different, to all of this clicky stuff that I really couldn't deal with. Um, so I went with modular for some reason. Maybe it's because it's what everybody's talking about, really. That if you go on the internet, it's really expensive old synth that you really can't get hold of, or it's modular stuff. So I thought modular stuff is going to be the thing, right?
Yeah, you either go by like Moog Voyager or like what are they like? There's the CS80 or those
Yeah,
all those
something.
ones
Yeah,
people lust after that I'm like, yeah, it sounds cool,
yeah,
but it's not modular.
exactly. And I also needed to solve like a concrete problem that I'm in quite a small space here. This is my small office thing
Yeah,
that I work in. There's another desk here where my girlfriend sits once in a while. So it's really cramped, and I wouldn't be able to fit a couple of vintage synthesizers in here even if I wanted to, right?
they're
But
gigantic.
but like, a couple of units of a Eurorack, that fits. That kind of fits. So I think the first module I got was rings, really. I bought a bearing and neutron first just to see, can I actually patch something? Does this thing work? Do the cables do anything? But yeah, it quickly escalated a little bit. So I think rings and clouds are like the first two for to sort of indulge in the ultimate cliches. But it works, and it sounds really nice. Rings into clouds is a cliche for a reason, right?
Yeah, I mean, they sound really good, and you don't have to try hard for them to sound really good. And
Exactly,
I think
exactly.
they're well designed enough where you can just uh, sort of just like play with sounds, like just enjoy
Yeah.
playing with sounds.
Yeah, exactly. So I bought those, and then everything was just about solving the next problem for me. It's interesting when you go into sort of Reddit threads or Discord discussions about, hey, I'm new to Modular, where should I start? Everybody is, or it's one of the things that comes up quite often is that what's your plan? What do you want to do?
Yeah,
Have some structure around it, and I
yeah.
completely neglected to do that. So I just went into problem solving one step at a time. So, well, now I have rings and now I have clouds. What's the next thing I need to solve here? So I bought like a random generator and quantizers. So I thought that,
Wow.
well, generative, that sounds cool. Let's try that. And it just goes on forever. So I have quite an assortment at this time. The 89 times 2 HP is completely packed at this time. I don't know if I can sort of scroll the camera over. You probably see that
Yeah,
patch
there's
is quite cool. Yeah.
it looks like you have almost as many cables as Schmooster in there. Let's zoom in just a
Probably, yeah.
second. Yeah, is that a Hermod?
That's a Hermod, yeah.
Okay, so that's how you're getting the MIDI in
So
or
I yeah.
sequencing it.
So there's a Hermod here. This is a clock divider, the random module. There's marbles, OCHD, um, the erogenous tones, VC8, mixer, Pico DSP, and some utilities, rings, clouds, Pico voice, flats, Pico
Yeah.
drums, attenuators, stages, and some stuff. Yeah. So
Yeah, that's a perfect little techno box right there. That's
it is kind of that, and I tend to use almost everything when I do patches. The only thing I don't really use that much right now is marbles, because I don't do generative that much. I don't find it that interesting, actually.
well, that's okay.
I,
Sell it
I
and get a
often
different
do
one.
use it if I don't want to bother with sequencing my drums. I use just the drum section, and that's fun.
Does is marbles only a trigger or does it send out like
It has like
voltage
two
as well?
halves. It has a trigger half and it has a voltage half. The voltage half is like, well, it's a random generator with a quantizer that you can adjust. So has
Yeah,
curves
you
and
might try that with sequencing non. Like I've had a lot of fun with this recently. Sequencing not the sound source itself, so not the pitch, but like
Mhm.
the volt, like the cutoff knob on a filter or something
Right,
like that.
right.
Um,
Yeah,
like
yeah. I've
that's
done
all
that a little
this.
bit with the nanorand thing I have because that's actually quite a fun module. It's one of the first ones I got. It has like a couple of different random types. I could do like stepped CV for pitches, but you
Oh,
can also do
cool.
like small LFOs or audio rate. and the order rate is
Oh.
completely insane. That's really fun.
Yeah, I've actually been using audio rate. Looking at you, Schmooster. I've been using audio rate to spice up some things here and there. So like if I go to the bass and I hold this down, and I actually have from the higher pitched. This is a 2 voice bass, and from the higher pitched one, I'm sending the triangle out into the filter that I can then. It has an attenuator on it, so I can. Actually works better if I turn that down a little bit. Yeah, fun stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Audio rate. I
Was
guess,
it
yeah.
was a comment in the chat about marbles need to sample Hermod MIDI to CV. Sampling CV is marble strong point, and that's absolutely true. Yeah, it's really fun. There's 2 ways I've been enjoying lately. One is sort of resampling something. You can send sort of a sequence into it, and it'll do related melodies, which is quite fun if you need sort of uh, an alternative melody to something or something like that. Or you can program your own scale. That's quite fun as well.
That's great. And yeah, Schmooster, you didn't do anything other than like that's the closest I come to FM. Just like audio right into my filter. Um, but it's fun, and again, I also like this sequencer. I've been wondering what to do. Like I spent a bunch of time like figuring out how to quickly switch between this sequencer and this, and like syncing. It's
Right.
not a problem anymore, but like. I found out I like it like 1,000 times more, and I liked it before when I use it to sequence other things. So like this is just one note, but it's all sequenced. The filter knob is sequenced via this, so
Right.
love it,
Cool.
and it just
Cool.
way cooler.
Yeah, yeah. I've been really struggling with sequences like from the beginning. It's if you don't know sequences at all, it's quite hard to figure out what they are and how they're supposed to be used, right?
Yes,
I think one of the
completely
first
agree.
sequences I bought was this BeatStep Pro, and in the beginning I just hated it in the beginning, and now I completely love it. But in the beginning I just hated it, and I think some of it is I have a classical music background, and it's just a different way of thinking compared to what you're presented with BeatStep Pro.
Yeah, and the BeatStep Pro, like I've never gotten to the point with any of my sequencers where I'm very competent at like recording and playing in a
No,
sequence while
no,
the
I'm
clock
not
is
either.
running.
Yeah,
Uh, but I've gotten very good at like using the BeatStep Pro and some other like the Pyramid to program in sequences, and like sometimes there's weird stuff that I wish it could do a little nicer, but like
yeah,
tied notes at BeatStep Pro are like okay, like they're
yeah.
they work.
They do,
But
but yeah, that's
yeah,
I do the shift and then number two
yes,
knob and then yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Or yeah, I do that a lot with the gates. Actually, that's a really good performable thing if you're using the BeatStep Pro. Is like if you go from like really short gates to really long gates, or the other way around, like start
Yeah,
with really long gates, so it sounds like one held note.
I
Really good.
I love just taking a sequence and just cutting it down to an odd number of steps, just and then flipping it and do alternate modes and things like that. Adds
Yeah,
coherence to stuff.
yeah. I'm coming off of like a polymeter and polyrhythm hangover at this point because I did a show for New York Synth Society. Or not a show,
Yeah,
like I did one of their patchables.
right.
Shout out New York Modular, thank you. It was fun, but like all I did was polyrhythms and polymeter for like a month and a half, and I'm still not, like every once in a while, I like maybe I want to do polymeter. Nah, not yet. Four to the floor. Let's go.
Right. Yeah.
Same rhythm every time. Dun, 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 dun. Like that every time.
Sure.
Gets me happy.
Sure.
All right. What else we got on here? Drums. I want to talk
Drums.
about drums for a second because, like, I think my modular weak spot is drums. I have a rample, which is great, and most of the time it's either on something like well, let me describe the rample. The rample is either 4 mono sound sources on a kit, and there's 100 or so kits in there at least, however big your SD card is and however much time you want to spend getting kits together. And or it can be 2 stereo channels, which is cool. So like that's rad. I could use that as a drum set, but I typically use it for more other stuff like supplementary drums. Like one of my favorite things about drums, and I spoiled myself by, like, I got a dedicated like drum machine with the drum brute impact, which speaks to me in ways. But I like that there's all sorts of performable things. Like not everything's perfect, not everything does the sound I want, but like I can crank a knob and get dramatically different sounds out of it. And I don't quite get that with the Rample, partially because it's a complicated machine, like it's digital with a lot of controls,
Right.
which means I have to like hit a button and then everything controls the filter. I hit a button, everything controls.
Yeah,
Bit
I think
crushing, things like that.
that drum board is super interesting for that.
Yeah, and so I've been looking at. I basically want a drum brute in a rack somewhere, right? Like, and ways I've been thinking about doing it. So I've been looking at a lot of drum modules, and right now, none of them really do what I want. Like some are close. Like I would say, like the Queen of Pentacles or the Black Noir from Endorphins are the closest
Right.
of the ones I've seen, because they have some analog bits to them, like I can control the tail on the drum and do some adjustments like that. Like I can't control the pitch on the bass drum, which is fine, whatever. I'm okay with limitations too. But the thing I don't like about drums, and the thing that probably won't change, is I basically want the Queen of Pentacles but MIDI controlled,
Right.
because I don't want to use up 5 channels. Like it would mean I would have to like either build or get another MIDI to CV controller to control them, and that seems like a waste when I could have like a MIDI cable going over there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's.
There's not a lot of modules that have their own MIDI in as well.
But Look Mum No Computer, I hear, is making another MIDI to CV module, but this one is, I think, 16 outs, and they're all, I think, triggers or gates. So that might be a good, like, if I have to do another MIDI, that might be a
Yeah.
way where I could expand to a drum rack. And when I do that, I'll probably do something like a single row, like drums down here or something that's
Yeah.
specific.
I've been thinking sort of the same veins a little bit. Right now, I mean, I have the absolute minimum. I have the pico drums, period.
Yeah.
And that's 2 drum sounds. And when I need a hi-hat, I use a white noise source through a filter and an envelope.
And you've
that-
got a kick drum, and what's the other drum?
Well, it's a sample thing, so you can
Oh,
just
it's a sample. Okay,
yeah, you can choose whatever sample you want.
cool.
But it's actually pretty nice. I've considered just buying loads of them and just stacking them up because they're like 3 HP and they have tons of samples, and you can do full manipulation via CV in the first voice of them.
Yeah, I've heard good things about it too, and I do have 2 HP to work with, so that might be a good one to actually just buy and play with, because they're not particularly they're not the most pricey module. They don't take up a lot of space. I'd have to take out my no pass filter, but I think I'd be okay with that not in my case.
Put it up auction.
For a little
it's
bit.
Probably worth it.
No, I'm keeping that forever. It's my favorite filter, and I know my partner appreciates when I use it. Hey, enthusiastic electrons, what's happening? Yeah, there are birds singing outside.
Yeah, it's 4:23 here. The birds are up, and I'm also up.
Yeah, so there's a good amount of folks here. I'm actually considering changing the time in the very near future of What the Heck to one of the weekend days, and this is just to make it more flexible. So I would appreciate input. Like if you have opinions on what days and times work best for you, well, I can work around that maybe.
Yeah, it's always
because
hard
I
to
want to
find a
include
time that
like
works well.
I don't want you to stay up to 4 in the morning to talk modular. Though I do appreciate it.
Mm.
I'd rather just get up early and, and do one that's more when you're already awake. So,
Yeah,
um,
it's gonna
yeah.
be tough finding a time that works for everybody. It's gonna be impossible, basically. But I
Well,
guess if it's a
early.
weekend, you can stay up late or the other way around.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, if it's the weekend, I have the option of doing it in the morning sometimes, like for
Mm.
more European friendly folks, or in the evening sometimes, if like people and these time zones near me want to hang
Yeah,
out late and party, that kind of thing.
yeah,
So that's why I'm thinking of doing that.
yeah. I think the weekend is a good idea. Well, it depends on if people can actually show up on the weekends. That's always the question. People
Yeah,
tend
I
to
want
use,
Kitsu to
yeah,
join too. That's another reason. Like I think there's just a lot of cool, really cool stuff. Like the Europeans do a really good job of having great synthesizer music ready for me when I wake up or while I'm working. So I
yeah,
I want to do the same. I want to make it a better time.
sure.
Yeah, AM and PM shows. Probably not both the same day
Should
because I
have
like to do stuff on the weekend.
what the heck did you show?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What the whoever's hosting it.
Mm.
All right, drum. We got that. Um, oh, that's a question I have. Where do you get your modules? Are you ordering them online, or do you have like a store near you?
Oh, well, there is a store not near me, but in the country, and that's
Hmm?
as good as it gets here in Norway, where I live. They have almost nothing in stock, and they have a thing where everything is like it's a site with a white background, and the text that says "not in stock" is also in white text with sort of a hint of a shade of something. So I made a script to just crawl their inventory and give me an Excel spreadsheet of what they actually have in store, and I tend to order if there's anything there. Um, but
Sounds like
actually,
a designer made that site.
yeah, super nice, super nice. But I mean, one of the things that I've actually been doing a lot is buying used. And since Oslo, where I live, is a super small city, you can just basically walk from one end to another. I've been picking up like half of my modules by foot, basically. That's been really nice. Just walking up to some random person and buying their modules.
That's perfect. That's great. Yeah, I was curious. Yeah, I'm in
Other
a
than that,
situation.
it's the
Yeah,
usual European shops,
yeah,
Thomann and Schneidersladen and all those. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, I have to do all online pretty much because, and I've been doing a lot of use, but because I just live too far from folks,
yeah.
uh, it's not really cost effective for me to like drive a few hours to go buy a module and then drive back.
No, no, of course not. Of course not.
Um,
No, but I mean, it would be nice to have like a brick and mortar shop you can just go into and look at a module. But it's all there's also a point in would you really? I mean, wouldn't you basically just decide on a module on beforehand and just order it rather than going to a shop and hope to be inspired by some sales agent who has to know every module there is?
well, I don't actually want to talk to people.
That's also true.
That's not. I mean, I want to talk to people, right? Like I
Yeah, yeah.
enjoy that, like the social aspect of it.
Mm,
But like what I've been jonesing for, like what I want to do is go to a shop that I can like try stuff out. Like I want to try some modules out. Like I want to feel like I can read all about it. I know what the
yeah,
knobs do. I know what a lot of modules do just by
yeah,
looking at them, and uh, but that's different than like actually getting to like play with them and patch them around a little bit. So that's really what I
sure.
want to. I always love to do. That
I think
is
we actually had a discussion about that on the Discord a while ago, and I think one suggestion was that just to buy modules and send them back if you don't like them,
Oh yeah,
because I mean
yeah,
some stores would probably just accept that.
that's true. I I I like to make it harder for me to keep
Sure,
modules,
sure, sure.
and I feel like that does the opposite of that, where it's like
Yeah,
harder to not keep it. Like, well, I did buy it, and it did get all the way over here, and I do kind of like it, but like,
yeah.
yeah. So I don't
It's
know.
also when do
Um,
you really know a module? I mean, does it take a week or a month or I feel
After
like
I've built
some
it,
of my modules I'll probably need another month or five before I completely master them.
yeah, and it's not. I mean, knowing a module is one one thing, but like knowing how a module plays with your other modules is like that takes me a long.
Yeah, that's sort of my argument against being able to go to a shop and play with it there because they probably don't have the other modules I wanted to work with.
Yeah, and that's true.
But sure, I get
But
it.
at some point, I may venture down the 2 hours or so to Denver and go to one of their meetups.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can justify like actually playing there. Like, I mean, I could play. I'm not worried about actually playing. It's just like I think they're like 15 to 20-minute sets, and it would take me that long at least to set up. So
Mm, mm.
it'd be like, who's this guy who just took 45 minutes to set up? This better be good. Dun 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 dun. Like, come on, get out of here.
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
Come on, guys, get hype. Y'all. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, but I
Uh,
guess that's not your problem uniquely. I think a lot of people feel that way.
it's cool. Like I haven't. I was planning to play at a show that's coming up in a month, but I haven't heard back from him. So I'm just assuming I'm not, which is great and freeing. Like I'm
Mm,
not too worried about it. But it also saves me from having to build. I was planning to build a like basically like all of this stuff into a case. Not all of it,
right.
but a good amount of it, and I don't have to do that right now. So great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, the DPO is make noise, and the noise bug is rad. And let's see what else. Erica Sinstra, watch West Licked Seek. That's cool. That girl. That's awesome. Those are good modules. All right.
Yeah, the
Another
Wesley
question
too.
that's
Cool,
like
yeah.
really good that you wrote down, but like you've only been doing this for a few months. Like,
Yeah.
what's your newcomer's perspective with like to EMS to modular? Like, tell me about your experience.
It's been super nice. I think EMS has sort of been the peak of the experience. Uh, we're all a bunch of originals, that's for sure, but it's a nice and welcoming bunch of them. Um, I
Like
think,
chaotic punk rock community
yeah,
of modular.
it's quite intimidating to get into modular. We talked a little bit about that earlier with the whole how do you get into it and what do you buy and all that. But I expected. I mean, I had sort of images in my head of similarly-ish tech communities, like for example, photography communities or things like that, where there's a lot of gear obsession,
Oh yeah.
and I'm actually surprised on how well this thing works and how welcoming people are. Um, also, sort of
There's a lot of
coming.
gatekeeping in some of those communities, and I
There
think
really is, and
yeah.
there's not a lot of that here, although I'm pretty sure it exists. There's probably a lot of there is module snobbery and whatever snobbery,
Oh
but it,
sure.
it it's fine. It's not been a thing for me. I was really happy when I did sort of the first couple of streams here because streaming in itself was something that I had to sort of overcome, and now it's something I do just every other day if I feel like it. Um, but sort of coming from this classical music thing that I used to do when I was younger, I kind of expected to sort of face a lot of critique when I had performed anything, and there's not a lot of that. It's a lot of encouragement and a lot of nice words here. And that's really nice. That's been a really positive experience all around.
Yeah, everyone's really positive. I think I can't even recall that many like. There's been a couple random incidents of like people just being kind of crappy, but they weren't really part of the community. They were just dropping it on YouTube or whatever. But for the most part, it's been really good. And yeah, there's like the only barrier to streaming at this point for me is like turning everything on, and that's not even that hard.
Mm.
Like that's a great place to be. Like I'm not nervous about streaming to folks. Like I don't even worry if I like have anything prepared or not. Like if I don't even know what I want to do, like blank canvas syndrome, right?
Mm.
Like I'm just like, all right, chat, tell me what to do, and like folks will just hop in and be like, I don't know, do some FM synthesis, like
Right.
make a lot of honk noises, like it's
Yeah.
really great.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
And
Yeah. It's I mean, for me, it's become sort of a rhythm. Like I set up a patch, I toy around with it for a while until I'm happy with it, then I stream it, and then I can say, now I'm done. Now I've done it, I can move on to the next patch. Gets a bit repetitive, but I mean, I have such a nice time playing the music, so it doesn't matter too much.
Yeah, it's great, and that's actually a really good point. That's sort of a like if I've worked a track for a while, or if I really like it, but I'm like itching to go to the next track, that's
Mm.
often a cue for me to stream because like once I've
Yeah,
streamed, like it's out there. Even if I forgot to record, like somewhere it exists, at least for a little while,
yeah.
and I can just unpatch and do whatever I want. Like after
Yeah,
that, it's
it
great.
was one of the reasons that I was seeking out EMS, or was actually pointed to EMS because I kind of felt that everything I did was sort of ephemeral. It just disappeared once I had done the patch, and well, I didn't want to record it too much. I just liked the times where I was sitting and working on the patch and just playing around with it. It's not worth recording those long practice hours necessarily. I mean, if I did it at track of me 1 hour sitting and performing something, that would be kind of boring to listen to as a video track, but it's interesting to hear as a stream instead. Uh,
It
and
is.
I
It's more fun as a stream. Like I'm
it
more
is
willing to listen to an hour long whatever, even if it could be a 3 minute song.
Yeah, whatever. But
Doesn't
I mean,
even
the point
yeah
is that you can do a lot of mistakes during these streams, and
yeah.
you cannot do that if you're recording directly into your DAW. For me at least, I would then sit and just take it over and over until my hair turns gray. Um,
Yeah, that doesn't sound fun to me.
no, exactly.
I don't want to
Uh,
dig through an hour of random stuff, even if it's like split properly onto different channels. It's not fun to me. So
not.
I've even stopped multi like recording stems on a lot of
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Like if someone wants to do stuff with my stems, hit me up and I will record them and you can have them. But um, until then,
Mm,
I'm just
mm,
recording the stereo out.
yeah,
Mostly just in case like my stream gets choppy or something, I can re-upload. That's really the only reason.
sure. Yeah, I have like a small YouTube channel that I just upload the recordings of the streams to when I'm happy with them. There's a few I don't upload, but I upload most of them.
That's cool. Yeah, I forget. I usually do like I have like a backlog at this point of probably like 10 things I need to take out of the recording folder and convert them and upload them, but I'll save that for a rainy day,
Yeah, yeah,
literally.
sure.
Um, and that girl, yeah, the risk factor for musicians is entertaining, and live music is the best. Yeah, I
Yeah.
do like live music. It's so much more fun. When I have recorded performances to then be played by whomever, like whatever modular group, uh, I don't actually enjoy that very much. Like, I
Mm.
want to make it feel good for the audience, so I do
Yeah.
like talk to people like they're there, but it's not as much fun for me. I'm not as hyped up. You don't have that like just do it one shot. Like I sometimes feel the urge to not be perfectionist, but like do sort of like I'll like when I'm recording something that I know is going to be played back, I'll like do like the first like 3 minutes, and if I mess something up, I'm like stop and I start over. But like you can't do that live, like and no one
Right.
cares live, so I don't know. I prefer live anytime.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Absolutely. Do you also stress a bit about the video stuff for those performances as well? Do you like do
I
multiple
do, yeah,
angles
and I've
and
been trying to do it a little bit nicer. So for those, what I've been doing is actually like putting memory cards in the GoPros that
oh,
you're seeing me on, and recording them individually so I can cut them around so it's less boring.
right.
Um, but I prefer my like more haphazard approach of like using this thing to switch camera angles and then
Yeah.
forgetting it, or like worse when I put up like the Hex 7 full screen sign thing. Sometimes I forget and don't notice for like 10 minutes. So like it's just 10 minutes of a word that takes up the whole screen. So I don't know.
Right.
That stuff always makes me laugh after.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So the format there is usually like a 10-minute performance or
10 minutes to 20 minutes is the most common. I think
Right.
I've done 5 minutes a handful of times. I think Saturday Night Synthesis, I've done a few 5 minutes for them, and Colorado Modular likes 10 to 20 minutes.
Right.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
New York Synth Society, I don't remember if it was 10 or 20, but I think it was 20, but it felt like 10 because it was polyrhythm, so I was cruising through stuff. That was a rough one.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
Uh, Sometimes I lose count on polyrhythm too. Like I really have to. Yeah. Anyway,
Have you
polyrhythm's
done
fun.
any sort of live things or a lot of live stuff?
I've never done anything in person
Right.
outside of like high school with a guitar,
Yeah, yeah.
and I would hardly call that live. Um,
Yeah,
I could
I've
load
done
some
it in sort
performance.
of band days, but never. I mean, I feel that it's a bit intimidating with a modular system because the patches can be quite fragile.
Well, that's the thing. I'm actually feeling pretty confident with my modular setup
Right.
and being able to play live. I think the things that would go wrong for me, knock on whatever fake wood, I
Mm.
guess. Uh, the things that would go wrong would be like sort of PA related or speaker related, like connecting to their system, like making sure
Yeah.
I'm not putting too high
Sure.
levels, that kind of stuff.
Sure. Yeah, I was just thinking that, I mean, it's gonna be one patch for the entirety of that concert then. Otherwise, you would have to have like a backup system with another patch you could just swap to or something like
Yeah,
that.
and that's sort of my like usual patch though. Like I don't I do a lot of extensive live patching. Usually it's like adding something in or removing it or doing it in sort of a special effect way. Like when I have the Ikery patched in, like what I was doing earlier is like taking the out of the follower and putting it into the volt per octave as a performative thing.
Mm.
Or no, it might have been beyond to mod. Yeah, it's beyond to mod. Because when I do that, it takes it from like sort of a more cleaner, happier sounding filter to like distorted, glitchy real quick. So it was like a
Right.
very performative cable movement. Um, but most of the stuff is like near a perma patch for me. Like most, like so it's not.
Yeah. For me, there's a process when I patch. I mean, I end up patching everything more or less the same all the time, but I need to sort of go through the process,
Yeah,
starting with like patching up one voice, finding a good sound there, and just working my way through it.
yeah, that's a good. I mean, I think it's good to unpatch, and even if you're doing the same patch or a similar patch, like it,
Mm.
like at this point, like I could patch this up in probably 10 minutes
Yeah.
from blank slate, and if I was performing live, I would probably like be on the side while somebody's playing, patching it up, so like nobody has to wait. Um, but what was I gonna say? I lost it. Oh, yeah. Terror just brought up a good point that they've heard of people having like a black box or something to play interludes between patches, and that's
Yeah.
something I've done. Like when I'm uh, like loading up a track or something, like I'll play like the sequences I programmed into one of these hardware synthesizers that I never use. Like I never use their sequences, or I don't have it handy, but the OPZ is one I was planning on. Like, if I really needed to, like, if I was doing a 3 hour set, at some point I might want to repatch or
Right.
need an interlude. And I think the OPZ is a really great one for that because it can be really performative, and I can pretty much have the whole track done before I even get there. So,
Mm. Mm.
pretty much just like hitting play and fooling around for however long. So, I think
Yeah.
having another little beatbox or something that you can do interludes on or keep it
Or
from being
just
silent, because I think the silence is the worst thing. Like if you go from like really loud music or any music to just silence, just kind
mm.
of kills the buzz for a minute.
Yeah.
So
You can have that small wave file player and just play something from
yeah,
an
exactly.
SD card.
Like I could load up a different sound than the honk to play like I don't know, however long it could take, like 2 minutes, 3 minutes or something.
But
Play a track,
that's
like,
awesome.
you know.
That's awesome though.
Um, I probably won't because I really like the honk,
Yeah,
but
I can understand that. That sounds really awesome. What is it?
let's do some live patching. That's the Winter Bloom big honking button, and
Okay.
I got the DIY kit so that I could put make my own front panel, put my own quarter-inch jacks in, and get the biggest button I could find on it. So instead of like a small Euro rack module with like an arcade button, it's got that monstrosity. Um, oops, wrong one. Uh, yeah, so like I load
Wow.
up a pop song uh, and slow down the playback speed, and I've got synthwave for 10 minutes. Like,
Oh
let's
yes.
go.
Oh,
We
yes.
got this.
Yeah. That would work. Absolutely.
the, the NerdSec has these nice looping islands of patterns in the sequencer. You can bounce around and change the sections of the will. Yeah, the NerdSec's cool. The reason I'm like, the NerdSec, like, it's not that I don't like the NerdSec. It's that I really, really want the NerdSec, and I actually really, really want a what do you call it? What kind of sequencer is that?
A tracking thing?
A tracker. Yeah, I want a
Yeah.
tracker. So I ordered an analog pocket, which is sort of a Game Boy, modern version of a game.
Mm.
Like it's not an emulator. Like they rebuilt like basically a Game Boy for the original Game Boy in color on a new
Right.
platform, so it's more reliable. Anyway, and I've been waiting, but parts shortages, manufacturing, all the COVID stuff have delayed it because like on that I'm gonna have a tracker that I can incorporate into my setup because I think that would be so cool. Anyway,
Absolutely.
that's why
Yeah.
I'm always like, nerd
I
sick.
never figured trackers out when that was a thing. Fortunately, I regret that a little bit because now I see people doing all this cool stuff with it, and it sounds like a awesome way to do things.
Oh, I think I might hate it. I think it might be like the DAW of hardware, but
Yeah, yeah,
uh,
that too.
but whatever. I'm very much looking forward to it. It's a new thing, so I'm patiently waiting for that. I don't have room for a NerdSec, but if I do build that 40 by 80 centimeter box that I was mentioning before we got on the air
Yeah,
for Eurorack, I may get a NerdSec or something like that for interesting sequencing. If I like Tracker, like if I like the Game Boy Tracker,
yeah.
I might go with the NerdSec, or otherwise I'll be looking at something like the whatchamacallit, the Ericsson Black
The
sequencer.
black sequencer, yeah, that looks really interesting as well.
Because
I'm
yeah.
thinking them because I have the Beats Pro and then I have the Hermod there, and I found out I really like things where I can just press buttons and things happen. And the Hermod is absolutely not that. Right now it's just my MIDI to CV plus a few effects thing. But I really want to go for the Moskwa 2, new from
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Chaos, how it was pronounced.
yeah. And the
Rotating thing.
Hermod, like I have nothing but love for Scorp. I think they make
Mm,
really, really cool things. But the
yeah,
Hermod's one that I've heard that before. Like the folks that really like it tend to use it mostly as a MIDI to CV with effects.
yeah,
They're not primarily using it as a sequencer, and I think that's okay.
yeah.
Um, I
I'm getting tons of fun with it, but not in the way I thought I would. I thought I would be programming a lot more sequences or recording a lot more into it, and I find myself not doing that.
yeah, the more I have to like tediously program something, the less I like it. I like the quickness of the BeatStep Pro, and the Pyramid itself is pretty quick. Uh, Robbie pains me to say this, but I actually am thinking about in the box sequencers now. I've sort of given up on finding a dream sequencer. I basically want the Pyramid in a box, or maybe the BeatStep Pro, and the closest is the Endorphins, and that one seems maybe a little buggy. So
Yeah.
uh, I'm just gonna take my time on that one and hope stuff either gets better or a new cool thing comes out. But the black sequencer is pretty close.
I'm thinking that probably the best thing for me would be to get a bunch of smaller sequences and just do this one does this melody and this one does this beat, and then just hope that they sync up together.
Someone was talking about a really small sequencer, and I'm trying to remember what it was. I don't think it was the 2 HP, but it might have been. But there's a very small sequencer folks have been talking about on the show.
Erica Synth has this Pico sequencer, which has like 4 steps. So there's also a version with 16 where you just have to click a rotator all the time, which is really sounds tough and annoying.
Endless encoders. They put the endless in endless encoders.
Yeah, I have a couple of those Pico modules, and not really that happy with them, except for the drum and the DSP, which actually works all right for me.
Yeah. That girl, you're going to have to pop on and talk sequential switches, because I have one. It's, actually, this is probably a better angle. It's not finished because I just made a Mouser and Tata order, but I forgot to order the right size buttons. So again, the buttons are hanging out because they're too small for the holes. I may, like, if I was going to perform with this, I'd just get some washers or something. But I have a sequential switch. I mostly use it for switching the clocks on this, but I've tried a bunch of things with it. I'd love to know more cool stuff to do with it. Adders.
Yeah,
I don't have the adders yet.
I actually have 2 precision adder modules. The noise engineering, which is like a pair Gemini and Quantus Pax. One of them has a switch that just puts it 1 or 2 octaves up. The other one allows you to transpose, and they also do they also mods. These are really nice. It's kind of nice to be able to take like 4 independent melodic things and just transpose all of them to the same steps. That's kind of a thing that I hope that the Hermit could do by itself, but that's really complicated. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, the Pyramid can do that, but I don't know what it is. I can't put a finger on it, but like when I'm using the OPZ, it's got like a master transpose track where I can sequence the transposition, and it usually works out pretty dang well. Like if I'm doing something that's going to go like over the course of 8 bars, change to 4 different chord roots, but like easy peasy, it just sounds good. When I do it with this, like something's always a little off, and it might be that the OPZ is doing some magic to keep things in a similar scale. You know what? I bet that is what it is doing.
Probably.
Because when I do it here, like if I have an ARP going, there's always like one note in the ARP out of scale, and you're like,
yeah, that could be a thing.
I guess I could put it in a scale mode. I just never know what scale I'm on this. It needs to do it magically.
Right. Yeah. I've done the thing where I've plugged the transpose input and that module into like the mod wheel of a MIDI keyboard and just put it somewhere, and they'll see how that sounds. It's usually pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool. That's an interesting idea. Ooh. Okay, noted. Hey, Shock Value, welcome. We're talking about mod wheels and transposition.
Yeah, but it's pretty stupid. I feel like that one that has the octave switches, I mostly use it to fix the design flaws of the Pico voice, because the Pico voice has this CV tracking problem where it doesn't track the first voltage. So I just always add 1 voltage to it with that octave switch.
Oh, interesting.
It's kind of a waste of a module, really, but that's what I use it for mostly.
I love my octave switches and all my things. I
had the option to do it all the time, but yeah.
Yeah, it's just let me go up a few octaves. Why does that sound so terrible? Normally it sounds real good. Like. I just love that sound. I don't know. So that's why I love octave switches. So, bring me a module that has CV controlled octave switches, and I don't want CV controlled pitch. I want CV controlled like stepped octave. Yes.
I mean, the closest you get is this transpose module, because I mean you just need to send whole number of voltages and then you octave switch basically.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I could program that in too, but
precision error. That's what you mean.
I mean, I can just program that in my keyboard myself, but that's all right. Yeah, I love transposition, and in particular, beyond transposition, back to octave switches. I love octave switches because that's a really quick way for me to like shift things around. Like, let's say I want to take a bass line to a lead, that kind of a thing. I can use the same sequence, completely different feel if you do that.
Yeah,
just real quick.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I do that in a lot of
really easy way to do variances.
Yeah. Yeah. So what else? Does anyone like? I have to go hard stop in about 6 minutes.
I probably should go to bed soon.
I don't want to keep you up. Does anyone have any last minute questions we can answer super fast before we do the outro? We gotta wait like the 20 seconds for folks to like respond because there's the whole YouTube delay. So in the meantime, we can play like I don't know. Let's play. What do we got going here? Yeah, let's do like a mellow, happy. All right, give us questions. Let's go. Ask questions. Good. Morph Acoustics, I believe, has crazy transposition switching. Ooh, that is good to know. Morph Acoustics, you might be my friend soon. Let's see. Thanks, B-roll. The B-roll. Morph Acoustics, that's cool. I like their website, high contrast, Galaxy, going well so far.
That's a question from Robbie. To me, how I would describe the kind of patches I make. Mostly harmless, I'd say.
Harmless.
No.
Tell me about the harmful patches you've made.
Yeah. I think it was the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy reference. No, I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do with them, but they tend to get quite spacey, and I like to make patches that I can get lost in, like soundscapes that I can immerse in. That's my end goal, and then once in a while I do techno.
Cool. We just got a whole bunch more questions. All right, best module.
Best module. I think my best module is Stages, hands down.
Stages. All right, mine's Filter. No problem. Or no sweat there. First module.
I think it was Rings.
Rings. All right, mine was also the Filter. Newest module.
Newest module. Right. I bought this weird ADSR from ADSR Junior from Circuit Abbey. Yeah.
Cool. I think mine is technically the Ericsson Space Line, but I haven't built it yet. Thank you for Steen and Nelson. What else? Favorite? No. I guess favorite color is a good one.
Green.
Probably blue, I guess, but that's boring. Yellow, sure. That's my favorite color today. And we're good. I think we're good on time. Do you want to? Do you want to like? Let's get played out, huh? Let's get some music going. Let me switch up all the things. Change camera angle. Let's see. Do this, and you are good to go whenever you feel like it. Thank you, everybody, for coming. We have some music by Icing. Yes!